Feeling trapped in life's grind at 50? Stressed out, confidence gone, fading fast? You're not alone. Life moves fast, and somewhere along the way, it's easy to lose yourself. The long hours, the endless responsibilities, the feeling that you're running on fumes, it all adds up. I know, because I've been there. For years, I was a doctor, dedicating my life to helping others. But somewhere in the process, I lost my own health, my peace of mind, and even my sense of self. The exhaustion was more than just physical, it was deep. Bone-weary fatigue, the kind that seeps into your soul. My hands would shake from stress. My sleep was non-existent, and I no longer recognized the person in the mirror. I was prescribing solutions for everyone but myself. And my body was breaking under the weight of a life that no longer felt my own. Then, one day, I did something that seemed unthinkable. I walked away. I traded the sterile walls of a hospital for the open sky of a homestead. Swapped prescription pads for seed packets. And in the quiet of my own backyard, I discovered something extraordinary. 6 simple herbs that changed everything. I'm not talking about magic potions or some mystical remedy. I'm talking about the plants that have been quietly waiting for us all along. The same ones our ancestors relied on. The ones growing unnoticed in our backyards. The ones science is now proving to be more powerful than we ever realized. Take Calendula, for example. I used to think of scars as permanent marks, reminders of mistakes, surgeries, or time itself. But this golden flower proved me wrong. Its potent healing properties did more than just fade my scars. It helped my skin regenerate faster and healthier than I thought possible. Or chamomile, a plant we often dismiss as just a simple tea. For years, I struggled with sleepless nights. No matter how tired I was, my brain wouldn't shut off. I tried melatonin, meditation, even medication, but nothing worked. Until chamomile. Not in the weak, grocery store tea bag kind of way, but fresh, homegrown blossoms steeped with intention. Within days, my sleep improved. Within weeks, I was waking up refreshed, something I hadn't felt in years. And that was just the beginning. What if the answers to our exhaustion, our stress, our fading sense of self weren't in another pill or another quick fix, but in the simple, forgotten power of plants? What if nature, in its quiet resilience, holds the key to restoring not just our health, but our balance? I didn't believe it at first, either, but these 6 backyard herbs shocked me back to life, and they might just do the same for you. So before you scroll away, before you accept that exhaustion and stress are just part of getting older, stay with me. This might be the secret that saves your sanity and your soul. I'm Dr. Ling, 35 years spent fixing patients. But at 52, I was the one who needed saving. City life drained me. Endless shifts, blaring sirens, sterile hospital walls, and the kind of exhaustion that seeps into your bones. The stress wasn't just something I carried at work, I brought it home. I'd snap at my family over nothing, retreat into my office, and watch my confidence erode bit by bit. The man who once gave patients life-changing advice now felt like a shell of himself. I thought retirement was a distant dream, something reserved for someday. But then, someday came knocking much sooner than I expected. And before I knew it, I was standing in front of a small homestead, with no clue what I was doing. I told myself I'd grow a few vegetables, maybe some carrots, but nature had bigger plans. Something happened out here, something I never learned in medical school. One afternoon, as I cleared out an old gardening shed, I found a jar of dried flowers tucked away between rusty tools. Chamomile, a plant I'd dismissed for years as just tea for sleep. But in that moment, standing there with dirt under my fingernails and the weight of stress pressing on my chest, I felt something shift. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was desperation. I started planting, brewing, learning. And that's when I realized, stress wasn't just in my mind, it was reshaping me. My hands, once steady, now trembled. My face, once sharp, sagged under the weight of worry. I'd forget why I walked into rooms. I wasn't aging, I was wearing myself out. And the worst part? I saw the same thing happening to my patients. So I did what no textbook ever taught me. I turned to the earth. I let chamomile melt away the tension that no prescription ever could. I let holy basil replace the caffeine crashes and wire me with calm, steady energy. I let lemon balm silence my racing thoughts and bring back the deep, healing sleep I hadn't known in years. And then, I started feeling like myself again. It wasn't instant, and it wasn't magic, but little by little, these 6 backyard herbs rebuilt me, mind, body, and soul. So if you're over 40, if stress has stolen your energy, your edge, your confidence, this garden might just be your escape. 2. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share isn't just about herbs. It's about taking back control of your health, your calm, your life. And trust me, once you start, you'll never look back. Let's start with the signs, the ones I ignored until they owned me. Stress wasn't just a feeling of being overwhelmed anymore. It had taken shape. It was my hands trembling so badly I spilled coffee before I could take a sip. It was my voice cracking mid-sentence during conversations. It was staring into the mirror, searching for the person I used to be, and seeing a tired stranger looking back. At night, sleep became a distant memory. I'd lie awake, replaying mistakes, running through what-ifs like an endless reel of failure. A doctor, someone trained to fix others, and I couldn't even fix myself. Confidence? Gone. I started dodging friends, avoiding calls, making excuses, not because I didn't want to talk, but because I feared stumbling over my words, forgetting details, sounding unlike myself. I could hear it in my own voice. Uncertainty, exhaustion, depletion. My skin broke out, my hair thinned, my body was screaming for help. But I wasn't listening. I'd seen it in my own patients before. Doc, I'm wired but worn out. And I'd nod, write a prescription, send them on their way. Now, I was the one who needed help. And scripts were failing me. That first night on the homestead, I didn't know what I was looking for. I just knew I needed something. I walked through the garden, brushing my hands over the herbs I had planted without much thought. Calendula, I had planted it for the bees. But that night, I brewed it for myself. The twist? I actually slept. No racing thoughts, no tossing and turning, just deep, uninterrupted rest, the kind I hadn't felt in years. The next morning, my hands didn't shake. For the first time in months, I held my coffee steady. Later that afternoon, I went outside and weeded the garden, without a tremor. Then came lavender. One deep inhale, and something shifted. My chest loosened. My breath slowed. The weight in my ribs lifted just a little. 1 week in, I did something I hadn't done in months. I called an old friend. No stammer, no hesitation, just me again. The shock? These herbs weren't just calming me down, they were healing me. Calendula wasn't just for sleep. It was soothing my skin, fading the stress lines around my eyes. Chamomile wasn't just relaxing, it was softening my wrinkles, making me look more alive. Elderberry didn't just support immunity. It chased away the gray cloud of gloom that had settled over me for years. Yarrow? A simple flower, but one that patched up my cuts, inside and out. I had spent decades chasing cures, and here they were, growing wild, free, and waiting. My first brew? 1 tablespoon calendula, steeped for 10 minutes. A start that changed everything. And that's just the beginning. These aren't just plants, they're my heroes. I didn't go looking for them, but they found me, one by one. They revealed their power, their quiet magic, their ability to restore a body worn thin by stress. Each one shocked me in a different way. Let's meet them. Calendula, the skin savior. Calendula's fiery orange blooms were my first love, though not in the way I expected. I planted them for pollinators. A splash of color, nothing more. But one restless night, I plucked a few petals. Brewed them into tea, 1 tablespoon. Steeped for 10 minutes, and that night, I slept like a baby. The next morning, I noticed something else. The red, itchy patches on my hands, stress-induced eczema, were fading. I'd spent years slathering on expensive creams, chasing relief that never lasted. But here it was. A simple flower doing what no prescription could. Curious, I crushed a handful of petals, infused them into oil, and massaged it into my dry, cracked skin. It worked. My hands, once rough and brittle from years of stress and overwashing, turned soft, smooth. Calendula became my go-to healer. They call it poor man's saffron, for its deep golden hue. I even tossed a few dried petals into my rice, turning a simple dish into something beautiful. If you grow only one thing, let it be calendula. Dry it upside down, store it in a jar, and when life wears you thin, let it bring you back to life. Yarrow, the wound whisperer. Yarrow was different. I didn't plant it, it found me. It grew wild along the fence line, feathery white flowers swaying in the wind, waiting to prove itself. One morning, I was digging in the garden, lost in thought, when my hand slipped, a deep cut across my palm. Instinct kicked in. I grabbed a handful of yarrow, crushed the leaves, and pressed them against the wound. Within minutes, the bleeding stopped. That's when I remembered. This was the same plant Achilles used on the battlefield. Centuries ago, warriors packed yarrow in their wounds to slow bleeding and fight infection. But its power didn't stop there. I started brewing 1 teaspoon. Steeped for 5 minutes, a tea to calm my gut when stress had it in knots. Hang it to dry, keep it close. It's your battlefield buddy, whether the fight is outside or within. Elderberry, the mood lifter. Elderberries had always been there, growing in tangled hedges. Overlooked, ignored, until one day, I paid attention. I plucked the deep purple clusters, dried them, and brewed a simple syrup, 2 tablespoons in hot water. The next day, I noticed something strange. I wasn't just feeling okay, I was feeling good. Lighter, clearer. The heaviness that had settled over me for months, maybe years, had started to lift. And then, something even stranger. I started singing to my chickens, a simple, happy sound I hadn't made in years. Elderberry didn't just support my immune system, it chased away the emotional weight I'd carried for too long. It reminded me what it felt like to feel alive. Harvest it in late summer, leave some for the birds, and when life feels gray, sweeten it with honey, pure joy in a cup. Lemon balm, the nerve nixer. Lemon balm greeted me before I even saw it. A citrus-sweet scent hit me at my doorstep. Wild and free. 1 teaspoon. Fresh leaves. Steeped for 5 minutes. That night, my heart stopped racing. The buzzing anxiety that had become my constant companion, the tightness in my chest, the jitters in my hands, it all faded. And then, the real surprise. My wife turned on music. An old song we used to dance to. Normally, I'd shake my head, too tense, too tired. But this time, I danced. No jitters, no second thoughts. Just me, her, and the soft rhythm of a song that suddenly felt like home again. Lemon balm isn't just an herb, it's a breath of fresh air when life feels suffocating. Dry it slow. Keep a jar in your kitchen. Rub a leaf between your fingers when the world gets too loud. It's peace in a sip. Lavender, the sleep sorcerer. Lavender was for the chickens, until it wasn't. I stuffed a few sprigs into a small pouch and slipped it under my pillow one night, thinking nothing of it. Then came the storm. Thunder, wind, a downpour against the windows, the kind of night that usually left me tossing and turning. But this time, I slept through it. The next morning, I felt something else. My headaches were gone. Those stress-induced, skull-clenching headaches that had been my shadow for years. Lavender swept them away in a single night. Brew it light, 1 teaspoon. 5 minutes. Or dry it for sachets. It's your dream weaver, your gentle guardian of rest. Chamomile. The age eraser. Chamomile wasn't part of the plan. It popped up uninvited. Delicate daisies stretching toward the sun. One night, I brewed them. 1 tablespoon. Steeped for 10 minutes. 8 hours of deep, uninterrupted sleep followed. But the real surprise? The next week, a friend asked, "New doctor?" "No, just chamomile." My skin looked brighter. The stress lines around my eyes softened. The years of exhaustion weren't written on my face anymore. Chamomile wasn't just a tea, it was a reset button. Dry the buds. Store them in a jar. It's your bedtime youth potion, waiting to turn back the clock. I spent decades searching for cures, prescribing solutions, treating symptoms. These 6 herbs? They were never just plants. They were waiting for me to slow down, to notice, to listen. Now I'm listening. And if you're here, maybe you are. 2. Start with 1. Steep, sip, breathe. Nature's medicine is growing wild around you. And trust me, it's worth paying attention to. Here's how I use them. Doctor's tips from a newbie herbalist. Years of stress, doubt, and exhaustion dulled me, made me feel like I was fading into the background. These herbs lit me up again. They weren't just remedies, they became rituals. Simple acts of care that rewired my body, my mind, and even the way I moved through my days. If you're ready to bring them into your life, here's how to start. Calendula Moisturizer, the skin fix. I used to think my hands would always tell the story of my stress, dry, rough, with scars that never seemed to fade. Then came Calendula. I took fresh calendula petals and mashed them into olive oil, letting them steep for an hour in a double boiler. The golden color deepened, the scent softened, and when I mixed it with shea butter and whipped it fluffy, it transformed into something magical. I ran it over my hands, rubbing it into the cracks where tension had left its mark. By the next morning, my skin felt like silk. Within a week, the old scars began to fade. Now, it's my daily ritual. No fancy creams, no expensive serums, just a handful of flowers, a little patience, and the best glow-up trick I've ever found. First, Yarrow tincture, the cut cure. Asterisk. Yarrow saved me once when I cut my hand in the garden. So why not make it a permanent part of my first aid kit? I chopped fresh yarrow leaves and flowers, packed them into a glass jar, and covered them with vodka. Every day for 2 weeks, I gave it a shake, watching the liquid turn a deep, healing green. The first time I used it on a cut, the bleeding stopped almost instantly. But here's the real shock. I once rubbed a few drops onto my chest when anxiety hit me like a wave. Within minutes, my breath slowed, my pulse evened out. Yarrow wasn't just a wound healer, it was a panic breaker. Now I store it in a dark cupboard, ready for the moments when life scrapes me up a little. It's my emergency kit, bottled. Second, elderberry syrup, the mood boost. Asterisk. I used to think of elderberry as an immune booster. I had no idea it could bring me back to myself. I simmered 1 cup of dried elderberries in 2 cups of water for 30 minutes. Stirring, watching, waiting. As the steam curled into the air, I felt something shift inside me. I wasn't just making medicine, I was making warmth, comfort, life. I sweetened it lightly with raw honey, poured myself a cup, and sipped. By the time I finished, the gloom I hadn't even realized was weighing me down had started to lift. That night, I hosted a dinner again, something I hadn't done in months. I laughed, I felt present, I felt like me. Now, I keep a jar frozen for winter, when the cold seeps into my bones and my mood dims. 1 sip, and it's like sunshine in a cup. Third, lemon balm tea, the stress stopper. Asterisk. Stress used to live in my chest, tight, relentless, always one deep breath away from boiling over. Then I found lemon balm. I plucked a few fresh leaves, steeped them for 5 minutes, and sipped slowly. I expected something mild. What I got was relief. My shoulders dropped, my jaw unclenched. The world got a little quieter. The twist? One day, I let the tea cool, poured it over ice, and suddenly, it was summer calm in a glass. Now, I pick fresh leaves every morning, rub one between my fingers, and breathe in deeply. It's my chill pill, no prescription needed. Fourth, lavender pouch, the sleep hack. Asterisk. I never thought a flower could hold me through the night. But then I dried handfuls of fresh lavender, stuffed them into a small cloth pouch, and tucked it under my pillow. That night, I slept through a thunderstorm, no tossing, no waking. The shock? One morning, I hung a bunch in the shower, letting the steam carry the scent into my skin. My lungs, my bones, my tense shoulders softened, the knots in my back eased. Now, I keep a pouch in my nightstand, another in my car, one tucked into my suitcase whenever I travel. Lavender isn't just a plant, it's a promise. A quiet, I've got you, when life gets noisy. Finally, chamomile brew, the age fighter. Asterisk. Chamomile showed up uninvited in my garden, a little wild, a little unexpected, but I let it stay. One night, I plucked the daisy like blossoms, brewed 1 tablespoon in hot water, let it steep for 10 minutes, and drank it slowly. The result? 8 hours of deep, uninterrupted sleep. But that wasn't the only change. Over the next few weeks, my joints felt looser, my skin looked brighter, the deep stress lines on my face softened. A friend even asked if I had switched doctors. Nope, just tea. Now, chamomile is part of my bedtime ritual. Dry the buds, keep them close. It's not just tea, it's a youth potion in disguise. These herbs didn't just fix symptoms, they changed the way I lived. Calendula gave me my skin back. Yarrow healed my cuts and my panic. Elderberry lifted the weight off my spirit. Lemon balm quieted my nerves. Lavender wrapped me in deep, healing sleep. Chamomile turned back the clock. I spent years chasing cures, writing prescriptions, believing wellness was something complicated. Turns out, it was growing in my backyard the whole time. Start with 1. Steep, sip, feel. These aren't just herbs, they're lifelines, and they're waiting for you. These 6 herbs didn't just grow, they revived me. Stress aged me faster than time ever could. My hands shook, my skin dulled, my confidence crumbled. I was losing myself in the grind of city life, in the noise, in the exhaustion that no prescription could fix. Then nature stepped in. Calendula healed my skin, soothing the stress scars I thought would never fade. Yarrow patched my wounds, inside and out, sealing cuts and calming the storm in my chest. Elderberry lifted my spirit, chasing away the fatigue that had settled into my bones. Lemon balm hushed my nerves, 1 sip, and the tension I carried for years unraveled. Lavender gave me dreams, deep, restful sleep, the kind I'd forgotten was possible. Chamomile turned back time, softening my wrinkles, easing my joints, making me feel alive again. I went from a doctor fading in the city, exhausted, overworked, running on fumes, to thriving at 60 on this homestead. Nature won where medicine failed. And the real twist? My neighbors started showing up, curious, tired, looking for the same relief I had found. They begged for tea. We'd sit, sip, laugh, and stress melted away. I wasn't just healing myself anymore. I was leading. I'm not hiding behind exhaustion. I'm glowing. I'm alive. So let me ask you, why let life grind you down when these plants can lift you up? I'm proof. You're next. Calendula, yarrow, elderberry, lemon balm, lavender, chamomile. 6 simple herbs that reshaped my life. I didn't plan for this. I was a doctor who believed in prescriptions, in protocols, in science. But life had other ideas. Stress broke me down. Exhaustion drained me. And no amount of medication could bring back what I had lost. Then I planted a garden. And the garden planted something back in me. These weren't just plants, they were lifelines. Calendula soothed my skin and erased years of tension from my hands. Yarrow sealed wounds I thought would never heal, physical and emotional. Elderberry brought back the light when my spirit dimmed. Balm stopped the racing thoughts, the restless nerves, the feeling of always being on. Lavender gave me the kind of sleep that rewired me from the inside out. And chamomile? Chamomile didn't just help me rest, it turned back time, eased my joints, and softened the years stress had etched into my face. If you're over 40 and feeling crushed under the weight of life, it's not too late. Your energy, your calm, your clarity, it's all still in you. It's just waiting to be uncovered. Start small. Grow one herb. Brew one tea. Take one moment to breathe. Your body will notice. Your mind will thank you. Which herb's your hero? Comment below. I'm reading every word. I want to hear your story, your struggles, what you're hoping to heal. Because I've been there, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's this: you don't have to stay stuck. This homestead isn't just where I live, it's where I found my way back. And if you're searching for a way out of stress, exhaustion, or doubt, you're in the right place. Subscribe. Join the journey. Let's grow something better together. If you're ready to plant your own peace, links to grow these herbs are below. Don't wait. The best time to start healing? Now. And here's a little something extra. One lucky commenter will win my sleepy tea blend. The same blend that helped me break free from restless nights and wake up feeling whole again. Life's too short to stay stuck. Ditch the grind. Brew your peace. Thrive. See you next time. Have a good day, and have a good life.